killing, an unarmed teen is pushing to have the first-degree murder trial moved out of town again. The argument will be heard tomorrow, just one day before Stephen Rankin's trial begins. News 3's Margaret Cavanaugh joins us live with more. Margaret?
Yes, they tried to have the trial continued earlier this month, but the judge said no. Now they've come back with more reasons and trying again, including this flyer, which calls for people to gather outside of the courthouse when the trial starts. This flyer reads at the top, "Let's pack the court." It encourages people to come to the Portsmouth courthouse Wednesday for a peaceful protest the morning of the trial. The defense argues that this, along with threats made to the defendant, former Portsmouth police officer Stephen Rankin, online, along with the killing of 3 police officers in Baton Rouge, are all reasons to delay the trial and move it out of town. Legal analyst David Cardin explains why the defense wants to do this.
What the lawyers trying to do is say we need to change the venue. We need to go to a different city, a different location where they don't know anything about this case or know very little about it, so that we can choose people who are going to be impartial to hear this case.
Rankin shot and killed William Chapman, an 18-year-old, in a Walmart parking lot in April of 2015. 4 months later, he was indicted by a grand jury on first-degree murder charges. The Portsmouth courthouse is one of the only courthouses in the region where the public's allowed to bring their cell phones inside. There is a motion made by the defense to limit the use of cell phones, citing they don't want pictures of the defense witnesses taken in the hallways of the courthouse and then put on social media. The defense also wants jurors to stay in hotel rooms during the duration of the case. It's an effort to limit their access to the news, internet, and outside influences. It's an uncommon move that's done in some high-profile cases.
Ultimately, it's really, really hard for that to happen. It costs a lot of money to put people up in a hotel. And it also depends, though, on how long the trial is going to last.
The trial is currently set for 6 days, but it could go longer. Tomorrow is a motions hearing. There's about 11 items being reviewed by the judge, and the trial is scheduled to start on Wednesday. Live in the control room, I'm Margaret Cavanaugh, News 3.
A gun law seminar.
Now, breaking news from Portsmouth, where a judge has okayed a $1 million settlement between the city and the family of William Chapman. It will be divided among 9 family members, including Chapman's mother. William Chapman, you may recall, was shot and killed by then police officer Stephen Rankin in April of 2015. In August, Rankin was convicted of voluntary manslaughter, and a judge sentenced him to 2.5 years in prison. Rankin's attorneys say they plan to appeal.
I've become very bitter. I hurt every day. I cry every day. My family, you would think that my family came closer, you know, but they kind of like distance themselves because they don't want to constantly like talk about it when we go to each other's houses and stuff like that. And sometimes, you know, you get a phone call and I'm like, I don't really want to talk right now. You know, it's just hard. You know, I miss my baby. You know, that's my son. You know, I remember everything about my baby. You know, that's mine. That was my oldest boy. You know, I miss him. We had so many plans. You know, every day I wake up, I think about things that he done said, things that he done done. You know, I watch other kids, other boys. I watch it on TV. You know, and I see him. I see him every day. I see him everywhere I go. But that's not my son. It's just like a imagination. You know, it's the things that I wish. And sometimes I envy people. I do. A lot of my friends. It's okay, man. It's okay. It's okay. I know their kids, I know their boys and stuff, and I watch them go to prom and things of that nature, you know, and some they graduating, and I'm like, I'm happy for them, but I'm like, that's supposed to be mine, you know.
Citizens of Portsmouth forced to pay $1 million to compensate family for William Chapman's murder earlier this week. A judge in Portsmouth, Virginia approved a $1 million settlement offer from the city to the family of William Chapman II. As has been reported previously at the COPBLOCK network, see related posts below by myself and several other COPBLOCK network contributors. Chapman was murdered outside of a local Walmart by Portsmouth police officer Stephen Rankin. Officer Rankin was later charged with murder in the case, but ended up only being convicted of manslaughter and receiving a sentence of just 2.5 years in prison. Although the family was preparing to do so, this settlement was actually offered without a lawsuit having been filed against the city. That's likely due to the evidence that would have been presented during a lawsuit showing that 18-year-old Chapman, who was unarmed when shot, was actually shot from a distance. That contradicts Rankin's claim that Chapman was a direct threat to him as a justification for the shooting. Via the Virginia Pilot, former Portsmouth officer Stephen Rankin shot and killed Chapman on April 22, 2015, in the parking lot of the Walmart on Frederick Boulevard. The officer was investigating a shoplifting report when he approached Chapman, and a physical altercation ensued. A jury convicted Rankin on August 4 of voluntary manslaughter and recommended he serve 2.5 years in prison. Circuit Judge Johnny Morrison imposed the full sentence last month during an emotional hearing. Following Rankin's conviction, attorney John Babineau announced plans to sue the city, former police chief Ed Hargis and Rankin. He argued the city and Hargis were negligent in hiring and retaining Rankin and that Rankin wrongfully killed Chapman. Babineau and the city reached the settlement before he filed the suit, though. According to the petition, Portsmouth is willing to pay the Chapman estate $1 million as long as the family agrees not to pursue claims against the city, Hargis and Rankin. The petition also stresses that the city and the Chapman family agree the settlement should not be construed as an admission of fault or responsibility. Earl Lewis, a cousin of William Chapman II who serves as a spokesman for the family, lamented the case won't go to trial. He said an investigation spearheaded by Babineau had unearthed a lot of new information about Rankin and the police department. And he pointed to a BBC documentary that aired Wednesday in the United Kingdom with an interview from a former Portsmouth police lieutenant. The lieutenant said he warned his supervisors about Rankin before the Chapman shooting, but nothing happened. "We still haven't gotten all the facts," Lewis said, arguing that a trial could have resulted in new revelations with the possibility of a larger monetary award. Myself, I am a betting man. I would have taken it to trial." Lewis argued a lawsuit against Walmart might still be warranted. And Babineau said he is researching what liability the retailer might face for calling police on Chapman and following him outside. "We are not aware of any evidence indicating William Chapman stole anything," Babineau said. As Chapman's cousin, Earl Lewis, points out, the settlement will also prevent further questioning of the Portsmouth Police Department. One of those questions would be why 15 seconds of the video, which just happens to comprise the moments in which Chapman was shot, somehow disappeared from the official video sent to the lawyer representing Chapman's family.